All right, this is going to be a quick update. I just want to run over market cipher and the price action because it does look like, some things on the higher time frames are starting to lean a bit more bearish as we are approaching this very key area of support. But I do still think there is some bullish hope. We have not lost this area yet. I think there is still potential for some bullish confirmations and, potentially we could see a bounce from this area. And to quickly recap my overall outlook, we recently tried to get back above the value area low after this deviation of the range low, which at the time was this low, but we failed to hold above it. We have fallen back down below it and found resistance on it before moving lower. So this is a very key resistance area, and I struggle to feel, high time frame bullish until we can reclaim that. But I've also been saying that Bitcoin is, simply back to ranging where it was ranging at prior to breaking up above the value area low. We, began forming a range in here, and, at this point it's looking more like, a channel because we continue to put in lower lows and lower highs, but many of them were wicks. We've kind of been struggling to move lower until recently where we got this move down, breaking, the smaller range. We broke down below this low right here, and SFPing the low of the previous range, which you could just say is now a larger range. You could say that the range high is all the way up here, and this is the range low. And I do think that if we start losing this range low, that opens the door to, a further bearish move, possibly back down to the larger range low. So that's been my outlook for the past, I don't know, week and a half since we lost this again. And the main update when it comes to price action is we did get an SFP of the range low. And this was a trade that I was, watching. I had it planned out ahead of time, and I did take the trade. It did not end up being anything special, though. This was approximately my entry. I had a stop loss right below that wick, and I managed to lock in like 1.5% on a 1% risk. That's not a great trade by any means, but, it still gave something, and I still managed it correctly. I took profits around this high, and then I got stopped out for profit somewhere, loosely around here. I would have to go to the lower time frames to see exactly where, but I moved my stop loss into profit because it did not seem like we were, really seeing that great of a move from it. Even though we did get a bullish push up, we kind of took out this high over here and started falling down below, so I got stopped out in profit. And I figured I would look for another long trade if there was more confirmations, and so far there really hasn't been. But we did see some bullish confirmations on this low. That's why I took the trade. There were some divergences. On the 4 hour, there was a momentum div. It was not a money flow div. Money flow continued putting in lower lows, as it has pretty much been this entire time. The 4 hour money flow has been coming out. But on some of the lower time frames, there were some, decent looking divs with money flow and momentum. And, honestly, now that we're seeing this fail, we're trying to come back down to this wick low. Is not a very bullish thing. It's not really what you would want to see for such an important level, I don't think. But, I mean, maybe there's a possibility that we take out this wick low once again, maybe to hit into this golden pocket that we front ran, and we could see continued divergences, and maybe that does give some kind of, decent reaction away from this low. So I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen around this area. I think it's a very important decision point, and yeah, basically losing that, in my mind, makes this low all the way down here a target. It doesn't mean that we have to come all the way down there. Doesn't mean that we have to come down there immediately. We could see something develop in local price action, maybe around some other kind of level of support like the 786, and possibly that could give a bullish bounce. And maybe it's a sustained bounce, maybe it isn't. We could see just like a lower high be put in before ultimately working our way down here. But yeah, basically losing this range low makes me think of this as a target unless I see something that I really can't deny, like something super bullish, very clear divergences, very bullish reaction. So yeah, in that situation, this will become the target, in my mind, unless I see something develop locally that changes my mind. So now let's talk about market cipher. I don't think much has changed on this weekly. This looks how it looked the last time I looked at it. Money flow, VWAP, and momentum are all pointing to the downside. Momentum is putting in a lower low locally. So yeah, that has not changed much. Let's take a look at the daily time frame, because here is something a bit concerning, I do have to say. One of the main things making me hold on to bullish hope here was the way that the daily time frame was looking with this VWAP curving to the upside. It did look like the momentum wave was working on clipping off, working on putting a green dot with the white part closing in on itself and the VWAP moving to the upside. but we can see that we have a bit of a floppy situation here with the VWAP now turning to the downside, with momentum continuing lower, and even money flow starting to turn to the downside a little bit as well. So yeah, we have a flop alert on the daily time frame. It does look like things are continuing lower, despite, this attempt at trying to print a green dot on the daily. So far, it's looking like it's failing, and that, at this point, momentum could continue lower before it prints a green dot. And that's not really what I would want to see as we are testing such an important support level. Now, this does not guarantee that we're going to move lower. This does not guarantee that we're going to break the range to the downside. There is still a chance that we take out this low once more, get bullish confirmations on the lower time frames, and see a very bullish reaction, in which case I would suspect that the daily time frame would just turn back to the upside and probably bottom out wherever it's at. But if we're looking at the daily time frame and trying to predict how things may turn out, it seemingly flopping back over to the downside after trying to bottom out is not really a good look. Now, there is still potential for divergences, as I said, on pretty much the 4-hour and down. Not so much with money flow on the 4-hour. I mean, it is possible that maybe we get a temporary bounce here and then come down to the low, and maybe money flow can turn a little bit to the upside, giving a slight divergence. But, overall, I mean, money flow is not looking great at this point. But also, it is at that point where it could be reaching the peak of this overall curvature to the downside. That does not always have to mean that it will turn back to the upside just as quickly as it came down. Sometimes you can get like very extended, weird looking, overall curves. But there is certainly a potential for momentum divergences here. But with the 4-hour money flow being as thick in the red as it is, that definitely makes me look at this with caution. Now, we definitely have better looking div potential on the 3-hour. We could certainly get a double div on another sweep of the low. We could see a momentum and money flow divergence if we wick out this low once more into this golden pocket. That is looking a bit better. But still, money flow is very thick in the red, and right now it seems to be turning over pretty aggressively, which is not a great sign. 2-hour, the direction is there. We are seeing higher lows. We could make a higher low with money flow, but again, it looks like, clearly the bearish strength is overruling the bullish. I mean, we tried to get in the green right here. That was very unsustainable. We came right back in the red with a pretty thick momentum wave, and at the moment, money flow is moving to the downside, potentially looking to put in a local lower low. So, again, looking at this, I have to say I am looking at this with caution. I see the bullish potential, at least in terms of divergences, but the money flow is not giving me a whole lot of confidence in that. And going down to the 1-hour, we again do see direction here. We have the potential to make a higher low to this overall wave in the money flow right here, but I mean, this was a very aggressive turn to the downside. This looks like a very ugly momentum wave. We're not seeing really good curvature. Like, this was much better curvature than this. This is like straight down and then flat. Sure, we could see a bullish reaction from this low. We could get a lot of bullish price action following that, and then the oscillators will probably follow price. But, in terms of how they look right now, I have to say the money flow is, really making me feel skeptical about the, divergence potential with momentum, which does not mean that I'm not looking to trade this low. I am. If there's a setup there with bullish confirmations, then I will take it. But maybe I would take a little bit less risk with it because I'm a little less confident in it. Or maybe I would need to see some kind of a local setup here rather than just, trading the SFP on its own, which could give poor risk reward and could make you have to TP a lot higher depending on, where the candle closes and all that. Because I think it's very possible that we, maybe get a temporary bounce from this level, but, just like the pattern's been, we put in a lower high, it's not really that impressive of a move to the upside, and then we just continue lower. I could see that happening again if we get a bounce from this area. Maybe it's just a temporary bounce. So now as for my plans, specifically my higher time frame plans, I am trading local price action here. I actually entered a scalp short right here, which does not seem to be going all that great. We got a little move to the downside, but now we're turning back to the upside. I'm probably going to look to de-risk this. I may try to close it around a break even or a small loss. But for my higher time frame plans, am I still considering these two shorts here? I think maybe. I would say not as much anymore now that we've lost this local range here. They looked a lot better when we were trading up in this range. now. For this trade up here to get to the value area high, we would have to see a pretty bullish move. So, there still could be a short there. This is still very key resistance. Maybe, we work our way all the way up here just to hit this area again, grab liquidity from this high, and then reverse again. It's possible. But, at this point, I'm looking at this trade as there has to be some kind of local setup there. I'm not just going to, trade it as soon as price gets up here because, that could backfire. We could be, at that point, trying to reclaim the value very low. And, I'm not too much of a fan of this one either, just because it seems like, by the time we get up here, the anchored VWAPs won't really be in the same spot they were. We'd have to get above them to get there. And, at that point, we could, hold them as support before moving higher. And I just think this idea doesn't make as much sense now that we've already kind of gotten the move to the downside. And we've hit, what would have been the target for that idea, which was the range low. Now, you could argue this low is still a target. We did front run support down here, but are we really going to work our way all the way back up here just to then come back down to this area? It seems unlikely, especially considering, how the bullish moves have been, as unimpressive as they are. We're basically getting pretty weak moves to the upside, and they're all lower highs. So why expect a higher high just for another lower low? I don't think it makes that much sense anymore. So really the price action that I'm trading right now is this range right here. We're kind of trading sideways around this low. We got a little bounce, but now we've revisited this area. I'm looking at this as sideways price action. And, there's not many great plans that I have at the moment other than taking out the low. That would probably be the main idea that I'm interested in right now. And even then, I've gone over how I'm a little bit skeptical about this idea, but does not mean I'm not going to watch for it and trade it if the confirmations are there. But, why not look for shorts around the top of this range if we get a little bounce here, especially before hitting this low? I think if we start, coming to the upside now, there could be some ideas that may bring us down to this long idea. And maybe one of those would be coming up to either the 0.5 fib or the golden pocket. There is confluence around both of them. We have value area high confluence with the 0.5. We have this previous wick high right around the golden pocket. It looks like we front ran that just barely. But yeah, again, this wick was prior to us putting in the low, so the golden pocket was not there at the time. But, this is a low time frame range, so I can't really come up with too many solid plans at the moment. I'd have to see how price acts if and when we get a move up here. But I will say I am definitely interested in trading the context of this range. And I am still looking for shorts as long as we do not touch this low prior to getting a move to the upside. Alright, well, I think that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment. All of that helps to support the channel, and I appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one.